Welcome to Pan's Daily Revelations. I'm your host, Peter Avalon Northstar, aka Pan, leadership mentor and vision guide, and founder of Northstar Leadership Center, your source code to leadership. So today's topic is, what does love have to do with sales? So I do um, admit that the tagline was a little bit of a seller. But anyways, the reason I want to share this is because I created a framework many years ago as I was learning how to do my sales in another company. I had a sales quota of up to $30,000 a month, which was a lot. Starting out, not knowing how to sell, not really having anybody to teach me. So I came up with this framework I call the L.O.V.E framework. Now, the L.O.V.E framework is also applicable in other situations. So I've used it in terms of relationships, like in love relationships, intimate relationships, in conflict management. I've used it very specifically in sales. So the L.O.V.E framework is very simple, and I'm giving it to you now today for free. And it's something that I've been using for the last 10 years. It's very powerful in the way that I've discovered it to work. So the L is to listen. Always listen to the person you're talking to, right? So what happens in a lot of sales situations is that the salesperson will start pitching, and they will pitch and they will pitch and they will pitch and they'll basically try to sell their prospect or their customer their service instead of listening to what it is that their customer actually needs and wants. You can't sell anything without that. So first thing is listen. Always listen to what are their motives, what are their pains, what are their concerns. When you've addressed that, the O stands for observe, and this is something I learned from NLP. So as you're listening, you're also observing their body language. Are they rejecting what you're saying when you have a conversation, or are they open, right? Is their body language open or closed? Now, in the O can also stands for objections. So what are their objections that you have to deal with in this sales scenario? Because the reality is that it's very unlikely that you'll sell your service straight off the bat without having a relationship, a connection with that person. So the O can also stand for the objections that the client has. The V stands for validate. So when you've looked at the objections, you look at how can you validate those objections. So for instance, if they are parents and they say, oh, but I don't have time to X, Y, and Z because I have children, then the first thing you do is you validate, their time commitment to their kids. So you say something like, I really appreciate, or I can appreciate that you take your time throughout the day to spend time with your kids. However, would this product, service, or whatever it might be, not be a benefit for you if, for your kids' future, blah, 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 whatever. Every situation is different when it comes to selling. So you validate them, and it's very important to validate your clients and just people in general, because the two things people want to hear is they want to be listened to, so they want to be heard, and they need validation, right? So make sure you validate their concerns, their objections. And so the last thing is you encourage them, or you empower them. So encourage them to buy your product or service, or you empower them to make, and this is my own take on selling, because I've been in situations where we did a lot of hard sales, and I don't particularly like hard sales, where you're like super closing, you have your script, you practice it, and you're just like, if you don't buy, blah, 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 right? So there's always a consequence if they buy. I always go into every sales situation with any client with the deep knowledge that the person I'm selling to have the power, but they also have the wisdom. They're smart enough to actually decide on their own behalf if they need what I'm selling. So there's no reason for me to hard sell. So this is where I empower them. So instead of like what I've seen a lot of salespeople do is they will hard sell you based on what you fear, right? Instead of what you truly want. they're basically trying to sell you on what you're afraid of. So that could be, if you're in a gym, they'll sell you on obesity or diabetes, or you'll get cancer or whatever it might be, instead of actually acknowledging that they potentially already are aware of these risks. So why not empower them to actually make better choices for themselves, because they're probably already beating themselves up over all the bad decisions they've done in life. So I always end up my sales pitch with encourage or empower, right? So the love framework is super simple, and I encourage you to try it out. Test it for 30 days, see if it works. And so again, just to rephrase it, it's listen, observe or objections, validate, empower or encourage. Encourage can be for them to take the next action. This is what other salespeople call the close, right? Oftentimes, at least for my own end in selling, I don't particularly like a lot of the sales lingo, which is like the hard sell. Oh, we have to close and stuff like that. Not to say that it's not true. It's just I have used different wording just for the same thing, because for me it just works better. So I encourage people to to sign up for my service and products, just like a gym owner would do the same. So that is Pen's Daily Revelations for today. So I hope you enjoyed it. Comment below if you have any questions to the Love Framework, and let me know how it works. And I will see you tomorrow.